Okay, great. So again, hello everybody, welcome. Happy Valentine's Day. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about finding data. I actually got a question on this from the over the weekend, so I wanted to kind of share that. And then I'm going to talk a bit about making selections based on attribute data and location data using some of the files that you guys are working with in Lab 3 as an example. So the first question that came up was, hey, I'm looking for data in Michigan, and I'm having a hard time finding data from Michigan. Any thoughts about where you might find data? And most states are pretty good about having data available, and it may be as simple as just typing in Michigan GIS, for example. In this case, maybe you're interested in Illinois, or maybe you're interested in Indiana or such. You're really in the heartland. But the first thing that came up is sort of it's michigan.gov. Maybe I can make this text a little bit bigger. So it's .gov. That means it's a governmental site. So they're probably not going to try to like sell you things or infect your computer or anything. So that's maybe worth checking out. But there's additional ones, gismaps.org, who knows what's going on with this, state of Michigan GIS open data. It may be, it looks like there's some different things, but just a simple search on, the place that you're interested in and GIS, it may bring up, a good selection of things to check out here. So we're here at michigan.gov, Department of Technology Management and Budget. And looking around here, they're talking about their GIS and mapping site. They've got an open data portal. All right, well, that sounds pretty attractive. And so you can search for, you can type things in here. Here you can, look for boundaries for demographic data, fish and wildlife data. I'm in the Department of Geography and Environmental Science, so maybe I'll click on this one that says environment, but elevation, transportation, public health, and so on. So I clicked on this guy, and you can do a search sort of within here. You can say, who's the source I want? Is it Michigan DNR, or Department of Transportation or such? What are some different things we've got here? And again, you may have a specific thing in mind that you're interested in. I'm just going to scroll down. Household drug take back locations. That sounds interesting. Critical dune areas. Digital form of maps used in designating critical sand dune areas pamphlet by the geology folks. They published this in 1996. All right, let's click on this guy and see what we get. So the great state of Michigan shown here on this map, and I'm not seeing very much. But maybe if I scroll in the other way. Looks like there's these blue guys here, plant community name, open dunes. There's some information here, barrier dunes. So it looks like this is a data set that corresponds with polygons, right? So it's vector data. And maybe I'm interested in this. Like, I think this will be really cool to work with these data. But I'm in this like GIS open data framework that the state of Michigan has, but I'm greedy. I want these data on my own machine. So how can we do that? There's 123 records. Here's more or less info. I can filter the data for different things. I can download the data. Okay, I could filter it. I imagine I could be like, I only want to see dunes in Lake Michigan or whatever. But I can download it in different ways as a KML or shapefile or this GeoJSON file. In truth, we could probably work with most any of these guys in the ArcGIS Pro, but shapefile, I think that's the one I'm gonna choose here. So I just clicked on that, and now what is happening? So at the bottom it says generate a new download with the latest data, and it's going to start downloading and thinking. And I imagine once that's done, then it would provide me with a way to download that file, and then I could be happy and bring that file into my own project and go from there. So that's an idea for let me see what's happening in the chat here. So that's a way to maybe get some data. Let's try like let's try Calgary. Let's go up to Canada, Calgary GIS, for example. Okay, well, so here it is. It's a zip, it's a file, it's ready. I could download it and then I could sort of work with it. But same kind of idea here. Oh, GIS jobs in Calgary. If anybody wants to get a GIS, $38 to $51 an hour in Canadian. Oh my goodness. But city online map viewer, so same, presumably, I don't know, I haven't seen this Calgary thing, but maybe they've got data that is available to download. Here's Calgary. We've got some bus stations or such, right? There's a download button. So again, most, I don't know about Hilo, but most towns now and cities and states have some kind of a portal where you can access like bike lanes or whatever and download it and do some work and do some analysis. So hopefully that is a useful information for you guys. And again, just some simple Googling and poking around, you can find all kinds of things. Okay, if there's any questions about that, I'm happy to, or do another example or something, happy to do that. But if not, maybe I'll switch over to not my Zoom controls, but this guy. So Avalon's asking about, is there a sort of a legal impetus for American towns or cities to make such data publicly available? So that's a great question. So there are different types of data with different levels of privacy concerns associated with them, and to be honest, different types of security concerns, right? So there are legal frameworks in place for things like crimes, right? So when crimes occur, if you go to like city of Chicago, like I want to see all the places where these murders occurred in the last 6 months, you should be able to get that data and plot it and be able to see that type of thing. You may not have all the specific information about who the crimes were against or who committed the crimes or such, but different locations and such should be present due to sort of legal rules about releasing information. As the data gets more and more specific, and as the data gets more and more sort of critical, there are some restrictions on those data layers being publicly available. But in general, I would say each state and municipality may have slightly different rules about what they release, but if there's so that's an interesting question. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on sort of the legal avenues here, but I would say in general, you'd be surprised at the amount of data that is available. At least I generally am. And there may be differences across states and nations and cities and such. But in general, quite a bit of public infrastructure data is available. There's crime data that's available. And, for housing things through Zillow and other things, there's all kinds of, real estate information available, census data. So census data, for example, is a great example. Yes, that's a federal mandate. Every 10 years, there's a census. That information gets publicly released, and that's part of this sort of larger system in place. And it's not up to individuals to make the decision to release it or not. Great question. Okay, right on. Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about making selections using some data sets from your lab 3 exercise as an example. And so for lab 3, you guys are asked to move things around and change some things and such. But I wanted to just focus in on the ideas of making selections within data layers, selections of, in these cases, it's points. In these cases of points that meet certain criteria. Okay, and the one I want to start focusing on is this sort of fire hydrant data in this area around Fairview or wherever this is. And so these red dots are symbolizing, you know, fire hydrants. And so that's good to know. There's all these fire hydrants around. And so in case there's a fire, hopefully the fire department can hook up and put out the fire. If you right click, as you guys hopefully know, on any of these guys, you can get at the attribute data for these guys. So let's do this. And each of these points has an object ID. So this one that I'm highlighting right here, and it should, so up, it's this blue guy up here, right? So that's the one I just highlighted. That is, it happens to be the third point in this file. That doesn't generally mean too much, but we've got information about it. Is there a comment? No, so no comment. It was built in the year 2007. It's not private, so presumably it's public. And the hydrant, maybe this is type or is Clow. All right, fantastic. And the reflector needs to be replaced, according to this guy, but it's been maintained. So I don't exactly know what that means, but we have this information. And then we've got, oh, what else do we have about here? We've got information about the PSI, so the pounds per square inch of information associated, or of pressure, water pressure in there, I presume. Interesting. Okay, so make this a little, I'll make this a little bit bigger, so make sure you guys can sort of see what's going on. And so one of these columns, right, is the year built. And again, if you sort of click on something, it'll go in alphabetical order or numerical order. So these are the comments, so these are the W's, and it's very stiff. And then if I double click again, I'm down to no comments until they start to come in like alphabetical order, I imagine. So now we're into, you know, collect data. I don't know what this means. Collect data, dog pound, whatever, right? There's comments of the person who was working on this fire hydrant. Let's say I'm going to clear this blue guy. I'm going to clear the selection from this blue guy. Let's say that we've learned some things, and we are I'm making this up. So if you're worried about the water quality in this town, this is a made up example. Let's say that the components used in fire hydrants before 1980 had a bunch of lead in them. And that's not good for, well, yeah, that's not good for water quality. It doesn't matter if they're using that water to, you know, put out a house fire, but we're just going to use this example, right? So we want to, or there's some other sort of issue with maybe it's not lead, but they're getting to the end of their lifetime. And so we want to look at all of the fire hydrants that were built in 1980 or earlier. All right, so that's the thing that we want to do. And then we're going to replace them all, or we're going to check them, or whatever we want to do. So up here in the map tab, we've got this sort of select by guy over here. And we want to select by attributes. And so since fire hydrant was highlighted, that's the one that first comes up. But if I wanted to look at wells, right, I could just switch over to wells. But fire hydrant, and we want to make a new selection, and we want to make an expression, a new expression where, and I don't care about object ID because that's just this number, right? It doesn't really mean too much. I don't care about shape. I don't care about comments, but I do care about year built, right? So selection type where, yeah, new selection where year built, and I've got options here. It can be as equal to, as not equal to, as greater than, and I'm going to say less than, or I'll just say less than. And then we've got these numbers in here. So, and 1980 is the one that I sort of care about. So I want to make a new selection of fire hydrants where these guys were built before 1980. And then I hit apply or okay. And then look, we've got all these guys that have now been selected. And this table down here saying show all the records. And then this guy's saying only show the selected records. And this is interesting, right? Because we can see like, okay, these guys were built in, well, what's going on with these? These guys were built in the year 0. So I don't think in, you know, I don't think in the year 0 they were building fire hydrants. This is built in 1968, 1970 and such. So, and if I keep looking at the data, I can see that there's, well, there's a number of ports, but there's also this thing like private, yes, no, yes, no. So some of these guys are not, oh, collect data, right? Maybe we need to have this. But by being built in the year 0, that doesn't mean that these guys were built before 1980. This is like a placeholder data thing, right? Where it should be like a empty, but it's not empty. There's a 0 there. But because our selection was such that we just said less than 1980, we pick up all these zeros, right? And so that can be a little bit dangerous. So if we want to, we can make a new selection, or I could have actually left that selection in place. But we're going to do a new selection. We're going to say year built is less than 1980. That's what we had before. And we're going to have another one. And year built, and we could change this. We could make this or we can make it and. We're going to do and in this case. And year built is not equal to 0. So we're going to make a selection where I only am going to get fire hydrants which are built with a year less than 1980 and not 0. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I didn't do this before. We're going to try this one and see what happens. And we're going to apply this guy. And so now we've got 169 of these guys now selected. Now, some of those ones built in that had the 0 guy in there, maybe they were built before 1980, right? But I don't know. And so if I was being super conservative, I would probably leave them in and just check them out anyway. But I'm interested in, you guys having a sense about this idea about kind of building these different types of clauses to get at a selection that you're interested in. And the example we're using here is fire hydrants. I don't care about fire hydrants, but if you had other data that you did care about, these types of select by attribute skills would be, I hope, fairly useful for what you're trying to do. So I'm going to say okay for that. And now that I've got these guys selected, right, maybe I want to make a new layer just from that selection. And there's as with anything ArcGIS Pro, there's a million ways to do things. But if I want to make a new layer, which is just those selected guys, I can right click on this guy and I can go to data and I can go to export features. So the input features are these guys. The geodatabase is, you choose the geodatabase that you're working in. And I feel like I made one that was like my working drive, which for you would be a different place. Oh, it's E. I think mine is on E. Sorry, let me change that. And I can make a new one. I'm going to make a new one. This is just for this example. Okay, so this is a hydrant. Okay, and then this is like pre-1980. And there we go. So this is the original. Let me clear everything. And I'll make this one purple just to. Or I can be this guy. I want to change the properties of this. I want to make it from red to yellow. And this gets into some symbology stuff that we may talk about. So these are the fire hydrants that were created before 1980, not including the ones from the zeros. And then these are all the fire hydrants, right? So now I've got, another, this layer of just the ones I care about that then I can manipulate and do some additional work on. All right, so that's an example of selection by attribute. Hopefully that makes sense to you all. And you could work with these yourself, and you could say, repairs needed or whatever. And actually, I did want to work a little bit more with this original fire hydrant layer and share something with you guys. So let's say I want to do select by attributes again. fire hydrants, the original one, new selection. And I want to make a new, and I want to see the ones that need to be painted. Okay. Because I saw, let me cancel this. I saw over here that in the comment field, there's these like needs paint, right? Needs paint, needs reflector, needs paint. So I want to see the ones that need to be painted. All right, so I'm going to same kind of deal. Select by attributes, fire hydrants, new selection, new expression, where the comment is equal to, and then I click over here, and I look for things, and this guy says need paint. I hope you guys can see this pretty well. So I'm going to click on this, but as I'm looking at this, I also see like, oh, this one says needs paint, right? Yeah, there's several written differently. And ArcGIS Pro is not smart enough to know that there's a difference between needs paint, capital all caps, needs paint, which is what we saw before, or need paint, right? Or needs paint, and it looks like needs paint has maybe 2 spaces in between needs and paint. Okay, do you guys see that? From need paint, it's just a single space. Needs paint, there's 2 spaces. All right, and then if I keep going down, I think here's needs paint, right, with just a single space. All right, so this is actually super important, because if the person doing the data collection is sloppy, and sometime, or there's got 6 different people collecting data and they're writing it in different ways, and they're distracted, and now they've got 2 spaces, or they capitalize needs on some of them but didn't capitalize needs on other ones. So I'm going to just choose this one that says, I'll do the first one that we saw. Need paint. Okay, and I'm going to apply this guy. Look, it says 1 out of 495 were selected. And where is that guy? It's over here, right? This guy need paint, right? This guy need paint. Now, if I'm, not paying attention, and that was the first selection I did, and I'm in charge of painting all the fire hydrants, I'm going to paint this one, and then I'm going to take a break because I'm done for the day, because I took care of all the fire hydrants that need to be painted, right? But maybe that's not the best way to do it, because if I change from need paint to needs paint with 2 spaces, and then I apply that one, oh, I picked up another 3, and they're all up here. These guys needs paint, but they've got 2 spaces here. And then if I come all the way down here to like needs paint, you say the same thing over and over again, it starts to not mean anything. Now I picked up 58, right? Now I've got 58 of these guys that needs paint. All right, so this gets into this idea about domains, right? If you create domains and you're doing this for pipe sizes, that's like 4 inches or 6 inches or 8 inches, the person doing the data doesn't have an option to like write it in themselves. They just have to choose like, 4 inches or needs paint, right? But they just choose that as a preset option. They're not typing it in and screwing everything up. And I don't want to be hard on the people who put these data in, but hopefully you guys are seeing that some of the issues here. So there's other things that you can do. You could say like, contains the text, right? Contains the text. And we can try to just type paint here. I don't know if this is going to work or not. And we got 70. And if we go to, you guys see this? So the comment, we picked up needs paint, now port gasket, right? Needs reflected, presumably if I keep looking at that, it says needs paint. Anywhere paint is mentioned, these guys are gonna pick up. What I don't know if it picked up was, and I'm not seeing all caps paint, right? So we're missing that. So if I change this guy, let me add a clause. So right now we've got 70. Let me add a clause where the comments contains the text, and I'm going to type it in all caps, paint. And so again, we're at 70 right now. Is this going to change? Oh, because I said and, not or. All right, good lesson. Now I got 71 because I picked up needs paint all caps. All right. So when you're making these types of comments or you're making these selections by attributes, if the data have variability within the fields, and you don't know about that, you will get screwed up, right? And so that is like a lesson in exploring your data first before you start doing stuff, right? Like checking the data out. If there's 10,000 of these guys, it's kind of a hassle, but it's good to take a look and see some of the variety here so that you get a sense about what's going on and make sure you don't miss things. Okay. Hopefully that's a useful tip for you guys. If you guys have any specific questions about that, I'm happy to answer them, but that's important, right? Because again, if you don't understand your data, you're going to make selections and things, and you're probably going to miss stuff that you care about. So yeah, you got to be careful about that one. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show you guys about selections was, let me clear all these guys, was select by location. And so these black things here, these are the symbols for wells. These are water wells, and then we've got fire hydrants around. Okay, I had a quick question about how to make a new layer with that data. Yeah, I'm happy to do that one more time. So select by attributes, and I didn't keep them. So we're going to do a new selection, and the expression we're going to use is where the comment, well, I want to do hydrant TY, there's a different, is equal to, and when you click here, it's nice. It'll tell you like, here are all the options that have been entered in there. So I want, it looks like Clow. I'm going to say, yeah, I only care about the fire hydrants, which are the Clow 2500, because obviously that's the best fire hydrant that's ever built. All right, so I'm going to then apply this guy. And then I'm going to say, okay, so I got 15 records. These are the Clouds 2500, my favorite fire hydrant. All right, and I want to make a new layer from this guy. Okay, it's high. These are selected already. Beautiful. If I right click on the guy, which includes those selected files, right? It's all these red ones, and it includes the ones which are now selected. And I go to data, and I go to export features, right? That will give me the ones which are selected. Okay, and I'm gonna put them in this place that I was just working, hydrant geodatabase, and I'm gonna call it, these are the Clow 2500, the best fire hydrant ever made. And then if I turn off fire hydrants, look at those, look how beautiful those are, those Clow 2500s. Great. So those are the Clow 2500s that are in this database. Okay. And again, the way you did it is you got them selected, you right click on the name. After those are selected, you go to data and then export features. And again, I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but that's kind of the primary way that I do it. Now, let's say I'm interested in those Clow 2500s that are for some reason that are within 500 feet of a well. All right. I don't know why I'd be interested in this, but and the way I'm using the measure tool. Okay, great. I'm measuring distance. I could measure area, but right now I just care about measuring distance. And I click on the first point of where, and then I want to measure distances away from those. And I've got the snap thing on. So this is like, so this one is 358 feet away. This guy's 471 feet away, and this guy's 706 feet away from that well. Okay, and then up here, I've got another well, and these guys are 600, 700. Maybe I'll make it 1,000 feet away. We'll see what happens. I'll do it 500 feet away. Okay, so and I want to know about these Clow 2500 fire hydrants, which are select by location. So let me clear these guys, clear everything. I'm going to first click on this one. So I'm going to do select by location, the Clow 2500 fire hydrants, only those guys that it could be intersect with something, like intersect with the wells or something, but I want to say within a distance of, okay? Within a distance of, and the wells, right? Within the distance of the wells, and I want it to be 500 feet. All right, so what should happen after I hit this button is the Clow 2500 fire hydrant types, which are within 500 feet of these black guys, which are the wells, should be selected. Oh, what just happened? Sorry. Okay, and look, it selected only two of them have been selected. And if I open up this guy, the attribute table for the cloud 2500, I can see these are the two that have been selected. I can change this guy, select by location. And let's say I want it to be within a distance of the wells within 1,000 feet. And I can see that, oh, I'm starting to pick up more, right? So these guys have now been picked up. These ones which are very far away haven't been picked up. Okay. So I'm going to stop recording here.